Hey everyone, welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. All the twists and whispers are right here, so if you love getting the full picture, make sure you're subscribed and share this video with someone who won't believe what they're about to hear. Thank you for being here with us. A stunning development has erupted around Bari's Arctic and Elçin Sangu, a pair whose every glance and silence the public reads like a headline. Their love story has once again surged to the front of the tabloids, but this time the storm isn't coming from a paparazzi photo or a cryptic caption, it's coming from inside the house. A statement from Elçin's own representative has shaken the conversation. Their reconciliation with Bari's, the rep allegedly said, was a mistake. That single word, mistake, ignited a wildfire of opinions that refuses to die down. For months, people have followed their on-again, off-again journey as if the two were still living inside a primetime drama. After a short split not too long ago, the couple seemed to find their way back to each other in the last few weeks. Fans, who had been reading into matching playlists and subtle likes, rejoiced when the two were seen in the same frame again. Yet even as the reunion sent hearts racing, murmurs from those close to them hinted that the bliss might be brief. And now, with the rep's alleged comments bubbling to the surface, that fragile return to romance is facing its first real test. According to chatter behind closed doors, Elçin's manager was candid, some would say brutal, about how she felt regarding the reunion. In a private conversation said to have been shared with a tight inner circle, the manager reportedly expressed discontent with what she called an emotional decision at a very high-stakes time. The words didn't stay private for long. Once one person repeated them, they took on a life of their own. The version that echoed the loudest across the media sounded like this. Elçin's career is soaring, and getting back together is draining her focus. This was, the rep is said to have insisted, a choice of the heart that clashed with her professional momentum. Predictably, the reaction online split down the middle. One side held the manager up as the only adult in the room, a steady hand trying to protect a star navigating the busiest chapter of her career. They argued that timing matters, that roles and scripts are calling, that awards season whispers don't wait for anybody. The opposing camp saw the remarks as an unforgivable intrusion. Love, they said, is no one's business but the two people in it. Comments swung wildly between, she should guard her energy, work comes first, and let her feel what she feels, nobody else should write her story. The debate became about more than a romance. It became about boundaries, choice, and who gets to speak for a woman the public feels it knows. In the middle of that noise is Bari's, who, according to people close to him, took the comments personally. He reportedly told his friends that no one has the right to speak so brazenly about Elçin's life. For him, the public narrative seemed to cross a line when it reduced their connection to a PR liability. Those who know him say he's protective without being possessive, aware of how quickly private words turn into public stones. He's said to have bristled at the idea that their reconciliation could be treated like an item on a quarterly report. As for Elçin, she hasn't issued an official statement, though silence can be loud. Her recent posts have stood out, simple images, a quiet space by a window, a caption about living simply, another about finding herself, and a note about waiting for the right moment. Nothing overt, but everything suggestive. Followers who know her voice read those lines as carefully crafted answers to questions she's not ready to address head-on. Others saw them as ordinary reflections. Either way, the effect was immediate. Even more eyes on a story that was already too enticing to ignore. This is far from the first time their bond has been scrutinized. The two met while working on Keralik Ask, and the chemistry that lit up the screen never really went away in the minds of those who watched it unfold. What began as laughter between takes grew into something that seemed larger than the show itself. They pulled away once, only to circle back, and then, after their recent separation, they reappeared closer than before. Their reunion was like a love song fans never stopped humming. But what the world sees as a fairy tale return can look different backstage, where schedules bruise patience and attention is a finite resource. The insider chatter says the manager's discomfort was less about romance than about timing. She's at the peak of her stride, one source paraphrased, and emotions can cloud the discipline that got her here. Another suggested that the decision felt impulsive, as if the heart had grabbed the wheel while the career map was still open. That nuance didn't make it into the loudest headlines. The line that stuck was the simplest: mistake. It was the kind of word that can't be unseen once it's attached to someone's personal choice. Once those whispers slipped to the press, social media did what it always does: amplified the extremes. Some fans rallied around the idea that love can wait, that building something lasting sometimes means narrowing the focus to one horizon at a time. Others fired back with reminders that balance doesn't always look like silence and that grown adults can steer both life and work without constant second-guessing. People began digging through old interviews, trying to decode their rhythm, trying to find a clue in how they looked at each other years ago and how they look now. What complicates everything is how much weight both names carry. For Elçin, this season has felt like a turning point. Scripts with edge, directors with vision, a sense that she's reaching for roles that surprise even her most devoted viewers. For Barry's, there's a reputation for choosing projects carefully, an image of restraint and purpose. Together, they are the kind of pairing that magnifies every decision. To love each other is to stand under a brighter light. And under that light, a single offhand remark from a representative can become a very large shadow. Close friends describe their dynamic as warm but intentional. They laugh easily, argue rarely in public, and handle stress by retreating rather than exploding. That's why these public murmurs sting. No matter how you slice it, the manager's alleged words were a push, and pushes make things wobble. The question hanging over them now isn't just whether they're together, it's whether they can be together in a way that feels like theirs and not shaped by strategy or speculation. In the midst of it, there's a beautiful irony to the posts about simplicity. One featured a quiet morning, a cup of tea, and a line about turning down the volume on everything that isn't honest. Another talked about being patient with the self you're becoming. Both read like a manifesto for tuning out noise and tuning into what matters. Yet those posts themselves became part of the noise. People took sides using her own words as proof that they were right, as if Instagram captions are declarations of policy. Meanwhile, supporters of the manager argue that agents and reps are paid to be unpopular sometimes. They say the job is to point out blind spots, to fight for time, to keep the calendar from overflowing with tears and compromises. Critics counter that there's a line between guiding and governing, and that line can vanish when personal matters are weighed like business plans. It's a conversation as old as fame itself: how much control is too much when the stakes are high? Barry's response, as reported, is telling. "Our relationship belongs to us," he said to have confided to his close circle. Those words are simple, almost old-fashioned, a reminder that behind the cameras and contracts are two people who still text good morning and argue about what to eat. He doesn't want a boardroom discussion about what does or doesn't sap her energy. He wants respect for the choices they're making in real time, with all the mess and softness that real life comes with. And then there's the history, which makes this feel even bigger. Their meeting on the set of Keralik Ask wasn't just a professional match, it became the origin story of countless edits, fan art, and conspiracies about what they're like when the microphones are off. Every step they've taken since has been measured against that first spark. A break. A return. A setback. A kiss in the corner of a party, or was it just good lighting? No matter what's real, the folklore around them is relentless. And that's why moments like these feel definitive. People want to know which legend will live on. In recent days, the couple has kept public appearances to a minimum. Insiders say this isn't a breakup move, it's a boundary move. Give the moment space. Let the temperature drop. There's word that they've talked openly about it, about the manager's comment, about what hurt, about what made sense. The story here is not of slammed doors but of careful conversations. The challenge is whether those conversations can stay theirs when everyone else is shouting their opinions from the sidelines. Those close to Elçin point out that she's always been deliberate with her craft. She studies, she prepares, she refuses to be rushed into projects that don't feel lived in. They say that if she chooses love now, it's with the same deliberation. The idea that she can't hold both desire and ambition in the same hand is one she's never subscribed to. Still, even her staunchest supporters admit that this season is unusual. Opportunities like these don't come every year. If she looks cautious, it's because she understands what's at stake. The worry some fans harbor is that words like mistake stick. They infiltrate dinners, turn into second guesses, and leave a residue. Even if the rep backpedals or claims misinterpretation, the damage might already be done, because someone in the trusted circle said it aloud. Trust can hold heavier weights than this, but not without strain. What matters now is how the two of them handle the echo. Will they own the narrative, or will it keep owning them? Others argue that maybe this is the test they needed. Not the fairy tale moment, but the one where you find out how you react under pressure, who you become when the easiest thing would be to run. For all the years people have watched them laugh on camera, this is the plot twist that asks for more than smiles. Do they protect one another? Do they defend their space? Do they communicate or shut down? The answers, we suspect, will arrive not as headlines but in the quiet choices that follow. As the discourse churns, one detail stays consistent: neither has confirmed nor denied the manager's exact phrasing. Some say it was harsher. Some say it was gentler. The truth is probably somewhere between the quotes and the feelings they stirred. What we do know is that a real relationship is being asked to withstand an unreal level of analysis, and that's a lot to ask of anyone, even people used to living in the spotlight. And yet, there's a tenderness visible even now. Friends say that when all this broke, they took a long walk, no entourage, no destination. They talked, fell quiet, and then talked again. He listened. She listened. That kind of listening is an act of love. Perhaps that's what their followers are really rooting for, not perfection, not productivity metrics, but two people equipped to weather a storm without forgetting why they chose each other in the first place. The biggest headlines frame this as a career versus love showdown, but reality is more layered. Love can fuel the work. Work can sustain the love. Boundaries can be drawn without building walls. Maybe the lesson lurking inside this mess is that a life as visible as theirs still deserves the dignity of learning on the job, of making choices that aren't neat, of changing course without apology. Whether the manager meant to protect or to pressure, the fallout has forced a reckoning. So where does that leave them? At the center of attention again, yes, but also, perhaps, at the beginning of a clearer chapter. There are whispers that an official comment might arrive if the speculation doesn't slow. There's also a chance they'll let the story tire itself out, knowing that the news cycle is short and the heart's timeline is not. In the meantime, those minimalist captions continue, simplifying, returning to herself, waiting for the right moment. They sound less like subtweets and more like a compass. For fans who have walked with them since Karalik Ask, this feels familiar and new all at once. The romance that started with scripted lines is now writing itself on a stage without a director. Will the outside voices get quieter? Will the reps step back? Will the couple take a firmer grip of the narrative and set their own rules without apology? Those are the questions hovering in every comment section, every cafe conversation, every late-night DM. One thing is certain, the story isn't over. If anything, it's more alive than ever because this is what real stories do: they surprise you, they challenge you, they refuse to fit into an easy headline. Whether their reunion was a miscalculation or a brave act of faith depends on what comes next and who gets to tell the tale. For now, what we're seeing is a pair trying to move with care in a room full of echoes. And that's where we'll leave it tonight. If you've stayed with us to the end, thank you. If you found yourself taking a side, tell us why. If you think the truth sits somewhere in the middle, you're probably right. We'll keep watching, not to judge but to understand what unfolds between two people who have spent years being watched. This is Secrets Behind the Stars. Don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and join us next time as we unpack what's real, what's rumored, and what refuses to be anything but human.